Thanks for joining us for our class today. So for today's class, we're really trying to do lots of nice stretching movements just to really open up and stretch through our spines. Okay, so we'll get started. So just to begin with, we're going to start by stretching out through our necks. So just going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, I just want you to drop your chin down to your chest. Just really feel that neck lengthening from here. Breath in. As you breathe out, just coming up and lengthening nice and tall again, just really stacking through that spine. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, just dropping that chin down to your chest. And as you breathe out, just again, really peeling that neck back up and lengthening through that spine. Good. Okay, so we're going to do that again, but this time as we go down, just dropping that chin to your chest. I just want you to look down towards that right knee and just feel that stretch change. You're just feeling the stretch on the opposite side of the neck. Make sure as you breathe out, those shoulders are really sinking down, so no tension through there, keeping that neck long. Good, and then just dropping that chin down to your chest again. And this time we're going to look to the left knee. And again, just feeling that lengthening through the neck, holding that there. Good, and then just bring that chin back to the chest. And then just slowly lifting up back through, nice and long. Good. Okay, so we're going to rotate our neck now. So we're going to just turn and look over to that right shoulder. And again, just feeling that lengthening, shoulders drop down, breath in. As you breathe out, come back to that centre. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, turning and looking over to that left shoulder, feeling that lengthening, that shoulder drop down, breath in. As you breathe out, coming back to that centre. Good. One more time, breath in. As you breathe out, turning and looking over that shoulder, breath in. And as you breathe out, back to that centre. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, turning and looking over that left shoulder. On that out breath, coming back to that centre. Great. Okay, so we're going to do a mermaid stretch now. Really stretch through our sides. So we're going to drop one hand down onto the mat. And we're going to reach with our opposite arm up and over. Just coming down and stretching through that side. But my sitting bones are staying onto the mat. Breath in. As you breathe out, reaching up and over. We'll do the same on the opposite side, so dropping that hand down, reaching that arm over, breath in. As you breathe out, lifting up and over, back to that centre. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, reach the arm, coming over, stretching through that side, breath in. And as you breathe out, coming back up and over. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, reaching over, breath in here. And as you breathe out, coming back to that centre and just relaxing those shoulders back down. Good. Now we're going to reach our hands up to the ceiling and then we're going to open nice and wide around and then back to that centre. Good. And we're going to reach up, opening wide, coming around and then back to that centre. Good. And again, reach up, open out through that chest and then coming back to that centre. Lovely. One more here. Reach the arms up to the ceiling, opening out wide. And then coming round and then back to that centre and relax down from here. Good. Okay, so we're going to come round into a 4-point kneeling position. So we're going to come round into all fours from here. Okay, so hands underneath those shoulders, knees under those hips. So we're just going to start by just making sure those elbows are nice and soft. If it feels too much on your wrist, you can come up onto a fist if that feels more comfortable. So we're going to start with a gentle cat stretch movement from here. So I just want you to tuck that head under, arch that back up, and then dropping down and then looking forwards. Good. And again, tucking that head under, lifting up through that spine, flexing, and then dropping down and looking forwards. Good. And again, tucking that head under, lifting up through, arching that back, and then dropping down and looking forwards. Good. And again, tucking that head under, arching through that spine, then dropping down and looking forwards. Good. Last few here. So just tucking that head under. Good. And dropping down. Now just find that midpoint between those two movements. So that back is nice and flat. So imagine you've got that tray of drinks on your back. And just still making sure that pelvis is in neutral. So sometimes just tucking that pelvis just under so that tailbone is just tucked underneath you a little bit from here as well. Now I want you to raise that belly button up towards your spine so that core's engaged. And we're just going to start by lengthening one leg just along parallel with that floor. Good, and then back. Again, as you lengthen the leg, don't make sure that back doesn't arch. You're not losing or spilling that tray of drinks that's on that back. So sometimes with this exercise, you see people do like a really big movement, but actually we're trying to control it, keeping that lengthening and keeping that pelvis stable and that back nice and flat as we're doing it. So we're just alternating side to side from here, keeping that neck long. Good. Okay. Now, if that's feeling comfortable, we can add in our opposite arm movement. So as we lengthen that leg, we can stretch that opposite arm and then come back to that center. And again, lengthening that opposite arm, opposite leg, and back to the center. Good. So keeping that control. If that feels too much though, we can just go back to just the leg, okay? As you're lengthening that opposite arm, opposite leg, you're really keeping that control through that tummy as you're lengthening opposite arm, opposite leg. So we're lengthening through that body. It's a lovely movement, lengthening through, but really keep that core engaged and that back flat, okay, as you're doing it. So I'm still keeping that tray of drinks nice and steady. Very good. And again, dropping opposite arm, opposite leg. Very good. Let's do one more each side. So reaching away and back. And again. Good. And then coming back to that center. Good. Now we're just going to tuck those toes under and we're just going to reach up into this sort of downward dog position. And I want you to stretch through those calves a little bit. So we're going to drop one foot down and feel that stretch as I'm dropping that heel to the ground and switching over. So drop that opposite heel down. Good, and switching. So like a walking motion as I'm alternating sides, dropping that heel, sinking it down to the ground and just stretching through that calf. Good. And again, dropping down and the opposite side, really lengthening through, dropping the heel to the ground and again, dropping down each side, just walking those feet. Well done, just do the last few here. Good. Dropping that heel down, sinking down, lovely. Let's do one last one each side. Last time here, drop down. Good. Back to that center. I'm going to drop those knees back to the ground. We're going to drop down into that child pose stretch. Good. So just really sinking that bottom down onto those heels. Take a breath in and out here. On the out breath, just sink down a little bit further into that stretch. Good, breath in and out. Now I'm going to reach my hands around to the right side just to really lengthen the opposite side. Breath in and out here. Good. And then walking those hands to that center again. Breath in. As we breathe out, reaching those hands around to that left side this time. Dropping down, just sinking down into that stretch just a little bit further. Breath in and out. And then just slowly walking those hands back to that center again. And then we're going to bring our arms back up. Very good. Okay, so we're going to carry on our class and come down onto our mats. So if you come down onto your backs from here, we're going to come from here. Okay. All right, so let's start by just finding our neutral spine position. So feet and knees, that hip width distance apart. Just to start with, we're going to tilt that pelvis forwards and back, just looking to find that midpoint between those two movements, so that pelvis is in a nice neutral position. Okay, that core is engaged. So remember, if you're not sure about that finding neutral, that engaging your core, you can have a little look at our website. It goes into a bit more detail on this. So the ribs should be nice and soft, those collarbones wide, that neck nice and long as well, and those arms relaxed down by your side from here. Okay, so we're going to go into a bridge. Make sure your feet aren't too far away from you. So often if you get lots of cramp in your hamstrings when you're doing this exercise, it can be because your feet are too far away. So just tuck those feet up towards your bottom. We're going to take a breath in all together. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, use those bottom muscles, lifting up into that bridge. Take a breath in here. And as you breathe out, slowly peeling that spine back down, back to that start position. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, use those bottom muscles, lifting you up into that bridge. Take a breath in here. as you breathe out, slowly peeling back down to that start position. Good, and again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, lifting up into that bridge. Take a breath in here. And as you breathe out, slowly peeling back down to that start position. Good, and again, breath in. As you breathe out, use those bottom muscles, lifting up into that bridge. Breath in here. And as you breathe out, slowly peeling down back to that start. Good, and again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, coming up into that bridge. Take a breath in here. Then as you breathe out, slowly peeling back down to that start position. Good, and again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, lifting up into that bridge. Breath in the top here. As you breathe out, slowly peeling back down to that start position. Good. Okay, now this time, if you can, either keeping with your feet down, but if you're able to, we're going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to lift up into that bridge. If you can, I want you just to stretch one leg away, come back, opposite leg stretching away, back, and then slowly lowering back down. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, lifting up into that bridge position. From here, stretch the leg away and then back. Opposite leg stretching and back, and then lowering back down. Now if you're adding in that leg stretch, what you're really looking for, making sure that bottom is staying lifted. As you stretch the leg, don't let that bottom dip, keeping it raised and keeping that pelvis level as you stretch the leg and then lower back down. Well done. We'll just do last couple here. So tucking that pelvis under, use those bottom muscles to help lift you into that bridge. If you can, we're stretching the leg, but keep that bottom raised, keep that pelvis level. Good, and then lowering back down. Good, and again, lifting up into that bridge and stretching the leg. Well done. And the opposite leg, and then lowering back down. Well done. Let's do one last one here. So tucking that bottom under, use those bottom muscles coming up into that bridge, stretching the leg here. Good, and that opposite leg, pelvis staying level, and that out breath peeling back down. Back to that start. Very good. Now let's just bring those knees in one at a time. Have a quick hug just to stretch that out. Well done. So breathing in and out. On that out breath, if you can, just sink down into that stretch. Just a little bit further from here if you can. Well done. Breathing in and out. On that out breath, just sink down a little bit further into that stretch if you can. Breath in and out. And then just lowering the legs down one at a time. Coming back to that start position, so those feet and knees like a hip width distance apart. If you need to, just tilt that pelvis forwards and back again. Just find that neutral position and that core is engaged. Okay, good. So we're going to do our hip twist movement now, just to open out through our hips a little bit. Now, really important with this exercise, you imagine those hip bones pointing up to the ceiling. We're trying to keep that pelvis level. So we're just going to take one leg to start with and just drop it over to one side, just as far as you feel you've got that control. And then using those toe muscles to bring the knee back to that centre. We do the same the opposite side, so alternate sides, drop the knee over, and then coming back to that centre. Keeping those hip bones pointing up to the ceiling as we're letting the knee fall out to the side. Use those toe muscles to bring the knee back to that centre. Good, so we're just opening out through the hip, making sure that pelvis isn't rotating. We're aiming to keep those hip bones pointing up to the ceiling. So imagine you've got those two laser beams on the end of those hip bones and you can see them pointing upwards all the time. They start going out to the side and you're probably just going a little bit far. And you just need to reduce that movement. So just dropping the knee over and then back to that side. Good. Opening out and back. Very good. All right, let's just do one more each side here. Back to that centre and the opposite side. Lovely, and coming back to that start. Great, so you're going to keep that core engaged, make sure that tummy's staying flat, those ribs and those hip bones still connected, like that spring is drawn down. We're going to raise one leg up into tabletop. We're going to do the same movement again. We're just going to bring the leg out to the side and then back. We're just going to stick with one leg, so if you've raised left or right, doesn't matter, stick with the leg you've raised and come back. Good, so core's engaged. Again, those hip bones still pointing up to the ceiling. As I'm bringing this leg down, really push down through the heel of that leg that's that's on the floor. Okay, so you're really using that to anchor yourself as you're bringing the leg out to the side, making sure those lasers are still pointing up to the ceiling as you bring that leg out to the side and back. Good. Lovely. Coming out and back. Good. Now we're coming back to that center. We're just going to add in a little one leg stretch movement. So we're going to take the leg out to the side, stretch the leg away, bring it back and up. Good. And again, reach out to the side, stretch the leg away, coming back to the center and back. Good. Coming out to the side, reach that leg away, coming round and back. Good. And again, coming out to that side, reach that leg away and back. Lovely. One last time. Coming out and back round. Good. And lower down. Excellent. Okay, we do the same on the other side. So opposite leg lifted up into that tabletop. Keeping that leg here, we're just going to open out and then back up. Good. So we're just opening out through that hip, keeping those hip bones pointing up to the ceiling. Those laser beams still going upwards. Remember, if you're feeling that pelvis rotating too far, don't go quite so far with that leg. This leg that is stable on the floor, push down through that heel, really stabilize through that leg as I'm opening out. Well done. Good. And back up. And again, taking that leg over and back up. Good. So pushing through that heel, anchoring down. Last few here. Making sure those hip bones pointing up to the ceiling. Well done. Let's do one more. Okay, now keeping with this leg, we're going to add in that one leg stretch. We're going to take the leg out to the side, reach away, come round and back. And again, out to that side, reach that leg away, round and back. Good, so we're just adding a little bit of a stretch component to that as we're bringing the leg around. So just a little bit more movement, opening out through that hip as you come round. Good, push down through that heel as well, keeping this stable. That side that's in contact with the floor. Good. Opening out, stretching the leg away and back. And again, reaching away and back. Lovely. One last time. Reach that leg away and back to that center. Very good. And lower back down. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to just open out through those hips a little bit more. And we're going to do our opposite arm, opposite leg. Now really want you to focus on this movement is that distance between the hips and the ribs, that they're staying the same. So as we add in our arm component, we're not letting our back lift or our ribs flare. We're really trying to keep that center position, that core engaged and that tummy flat throughout. Okay, so we're going to stretch one leg away, just parallel with the floor, and bring the opposite arm above your head. Good. And then we're going to bring those back together. Do the same, the opposite arm, opposite leg, lengthening away and then back. Now it's not necessarily trying to touch the floor above your head, because actually I can't go much further until my ribs are flaring. So that's where you're looking for, is that point that you start to feel that you're losing that control, is where your end point is. Okay, make sure those ribs staying soft and not flaring as you raise the arm above your head. Good. So we're just switching opposite arm, opposite leg, this kind of scissors movement with our arms. Good. Keeping that control as you're lengthening through the body and keeping that core engaged. Well done. Now if that's feeling comfortable, we can then bring one leg and then the other leg up into that double tabletop position. Keeping that leg in that tabletop position here, again we can do the same, opposite leg, opposite arm, if you want to. So just pick what's comfortable for you. And we're just lengthening through, keeping that control, making sure those ribs aren't flaring as we're lengthening through that body. Well done. Breathing out as you're reaching away. And breathe out. Good, so keep that control here. Well done. Good. Reaching away. Making sure those ribs aren't flaring. Remember, that tummy staying flat. Good. Keep that control. Just do last few here. And again, reaching away. Opposite arm, opposite leg. Well done. Good. That tummy staying engaged. Make sure those ribs aren't flaring. Keeping that neutral position of the pelvis as we change opposite arm, opposite leg. Good. Well done. So just a nice lengthening movement. Let's do one more each side. And then just one at a time, we're going to lower those legs back down to that start position. Very good. Okay, so we're just going to stretch out and do our rotation movement. So arms down by your side or out to the side of you. We're going to drop the knees over to one side. Turn your head to the opposite side if you can. Use those toe muscles to bring the knees back to that centre. Then over to that opposite side. So just opening out through that back, using those toe muscles, bring the knees back up and then over to that opposite side. Good. Lifting up those knees, dropping over, opening out, coming, lifting up, and then over to that opposite side. Good. So just rotating side to side from here, opening out through that back, use those toe muscles, bring the knees back up to that centre, and then over to that opposite side. Good. So just rotating side to side from here, really drawing down through those ribs, using those toe muscles to bring the knees back to that centre, then over to that opposite side. Using those toe muscles, bring those knees back up to that centre, and then over to that opposite side. Well done. So just rotating side to side from here, dropping over, using those toe muscles, coming back to that centre, and then over to that opposite side. Good. Just do the last few here. Drop those knees over, turning that head, using those toe muscles, bring the knees back up and over. Well done. Okay, let's just do one more each side. So drop those knees over, turning that head, using it, dropping down through those ribs, using those toe muscles to come up and then over. Back to that centre. Very good. And then just relax those arms back down by your side. Okay, so we're going to go into our leg stretches now. So let's just stretch out our glutes. So we're going to put one foot onto the opposite knee. Allow that leg just to relax open there. If that's enough of a stretch, then just stay there. Or if you can, we're going to bring the other leg up and towards you, just as far as you feel comfortable. Just holding this stretch. So we're just going to breathe in and out as we're holding this stretch here. On that out breath, if you can, just sink down a little bit further into that stretch. So breathing in and out. On that out breath, if you can, just sink down a little bit further. Holding that stretch here. Good. Breathing in and out. And just sinking down. No tension through that upper body. Just feeling that stretch and relaxing through. So there's no tension through those necks and shoulders. Good. Breath in and out. Good. And then just relaxing that leg back down. And we do the same on the other side. So opposite foot onto the other knee. Allow that leg just to relax open there. If that's enough of a stretch, then just stay there. Or if you can, we're going to bring the other leg up and towards you, just as far as you feel comfortable. Then holding this stretch. Good. Breath in and out. On the out breath, if you can, sink down into that stretch a little bit further if you can. Breathing in and out. And on the out breath, sink down just where you're feeling that stretch. No tension through that upper body, just nice and relaxed as you're holding this stretch here. Good. Breathing in and out. On the out breath, sink down a little bit further if you can. Holding that stretch, breath in. And as you breathe out, sinking down that little bit further. Good. And again, breath in. And as you breathe out, sinking down that little bit further. Well done. And then just lowering that leg back down to that start. Okay, so let's stretch through our hamstrings. We're going to bring one knee so it's pointing up towards the ceiling. Going to lengthen through the back of the leg. Just feeling that stretch through the back of the leg there. Just going to have those toes pointing up to the ceiling. You can use your hand just around that leg just to support it there. I'm just going to breathe in and out here. Again, on that out breath, if you can just sink down to that stretch a little bit further if you feel able to. Otherwise, we're just holding this stretch here. Don't force it, just lengthening through those muscles at the back of the leg. Good. And then we're just going to change that stretch slightly and just point and flex through the ankle. So we're just moving, pointing those toes, flexing the foot, just adding a little bit of ankle movement here as we're moving through. Good. And then we're just going to hold that stretch again, so those toes pointing up to the ceiling. Lengthening through the back of the leg, holding that there, breathing in and out. Very good. And then bend at the knee and then lower back down. Good, we do the same the other side. So knee up to the ceiling, going to lengthen through the back of the leg, holding that stretch there, just lengthening through the back of the leg. Good. Just to where you feel that stretch, remember, don't force it, just holding that there, breathing in and out as you're holding that stretch. Well done. Now, just as we did before, we're going to change the stretch slightly and add a little bit of ankle movement, so pointing and flexing through that foot. Very good. Pointing and flexing here. And then we're just going to hold that stretch again, toes pointing up to the ceiling, lengthening through the back of the leg. Well done, breathing in and out. Just holding that stretch, well done. And then just going to bend at the knee and then lower that leg back down. Very good. Okay, so we're going to come up and around, back into sitting. And we're just going to finish off stretching a little bit more in this position. So just roll those shoulders, just sitting up nice and tall, just really feeling that lengthening through that spine. So we're going to float our hands up towards the ceiling. And I just want you to reach one arm up and then back down. And then the opposite arm, we're reaching away. So we're just reaching through that upper body, just lengthening that side, that's it, good, and back down. And then the opposite arm, reaching away, good, and back. So you're just trying to reach something above your head, can't quite reach, good, and then back down. And again, reaching that arm, and then back down. And again, reaching, just lengthening through that side, and back down. And again, reaching, lengthening through that side, and down. One more each side, reaching, and down. And opposite arm, reaching and down. Good. And then we're just going to open those arms out wide and then come back up and around. And again, breath in as you breathe out, reaching up, opening wide, and then back round. Good. Breath in as you breathe out, reach up and wide, opening out those hands, coming round and back to that start. Breath in as you breathe out, reach those arms up, opening out wide and back. Lovely. One last time. Breath in as you breathe out, reach up, open wide, and then back round. Good. And then float those arms back down and just relax those shoulders. Fantastic. Okay, so we're just going to just stretch through the upper back. So we're going to bring our hands up into that sort of Cossack position. Take a breath in here. As you breathe out, turning that body around, looking over to that right side. Breath in. As you breathe out, just bring that body back to that center. Breath in. As you breathe out, turning around, looking over, breath in. And as you breathe out, coming back to that center. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, reaching around, turning that upper body, breath in. And as you breathe out, coming back to that center. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, looking around, breath in. And as you breathe out, back to that center. Good. One more each side. Breath in. As you breathe out, reaching away. Breath in. And as you breathe out, back to that center. Good. One last time. Breath in. As you breathe out, looking around. Breath in. And then back to that center. Good. And relax those arms down. And just relax those shoulders from there. Fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed the class today and look forward to seeing you next time.